Welcome to United Daily Updates. Hello everyone and welcome back to our YouTube channel United Daily Updates. If you're joining us for the first time, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because we are your most trusted source for Manchester United news, match analysis, transfer updates, and everything else you need to know about our beloved club. We have been covering United for years with honest, detailed analysis that you can rely on, and today we have some very difficult news to discuss. Another away day nightmare. What do you do when your team breaks your heart again? What do you say when everything that could go wrong does go wrong? That's exactly how every Manchester United fan felt after watching our team lose 3-1 to Brentford at the Tech Community Stadium. If you thought we had turned a corner after beating Chelsea at Old Trafford, you were wrong. If you believed Ruben Amorim had finally found the magic formula to fix our problems, Saturday afternoon proved otherwise. This was not just a defeat. This was a complete collapse that has left every United fan questioning where we go from here. But before we dive into all the painful details, let me ask you something. How many times have we been here before? How many times have we watched United start a match looking completely unprepared? How many times have we seen promising signs followed by crushing disappointment? The match that had everything wrong. Let me paint you a picture of what happened at Brentford. Within 20 minutes, United were 2-0 down and looking like a team that had never played together before. The defense was a mess, the midfield was nowhere to be seen, and the attack was isolated and frustrated. Igor Thiago scored twice in those opening 20 minutes, and both goals were completely preventable. The kind of goals that make you want to throw something at your television. The kind of defending that makes you wonder what our players do in training all week. Then Benjamin Sesko gave us hope with his first United goal, pulling us back to 2-1 just before half-time. For a brief moment, it felt like we might have a chance. For a few minutes, it seemed like United might show the character to fight back and salvage something from this mess. But then came the second half. Bruno Fernandes missed a penalty that could have brought us level. The goalkeeper saved it after Bruno took 4 minutes to decide what to do. 4 minutes of standing there, thinking, overthinking, and then missing when it mattered most. Finally, Matheus scored in stoppage time to make it 3-1 and put us out of our misery. Another away day disaster. Another performance that leaves us asking more questions than we have answers for. Ruben Amorim in trouble. The harsh reality is that Ruben Amorim is now in serious trouble at Manchester United. This was his chance to build momentum after the Chelsea win. This was his opportunity to show that his team could put together back-to-back Premier League victories. Instead, we got this. A performance so poor that it has raised serious questions about whether Amorim is the right man to take United forward. 3 defeats in 6 Premier League games is not the kind of record that builds confidence in a new manager. When Amorim arrived at United, everyone was excited about his attacking philosophy and his success in Portugal. But what we've seen so far in the Premier League has been inconsistent at best and worrying at worst. The worst part is that this wasn't just a bad result. The performance was terrible from start to finish. The team looked disorganized, the players seemed confused about their roles, and there was no clear game plan visible on the pitch. How long can United afford to give Amorim time when results like this keep happening? How patient can the club be when every away trip feels like a potential disaster waiting to happen? The disastrous start. Let's talk about those first 20 minutes because they tell you everything you need to know about United's problems right now. From the very first whistle, Brentford looked like the better team. They were more organized, more aggressive, and hungrier for every ball. Igor Thiago's first goal came from a situation that should never have happened. Harry Maguire mistimed his offside trap, leaving Thiago with miles of space to run into. The kind of basic defending error that happens in Sunday League football, not the Premier League. But it wasn't just Maguire's fault. The whole defensive line was confused and disorganized. Nobody was talking to each other, nobody was taking responsibility, and nobody seemed to understand what they were supposed to be doing. The second goal was even worse. Luke Shaw watched as Thiago ran straight across him to score Brentford's second. Shaw looked like he was standing still while the Brentford striker did whatever he wanted in our penalty box. Can you imagine being a United fan in the stadium watching this? Can you picture spending your hard-earned money to travel to London only to see your team fall apart in the first 20 minutes? The frustration and disappointment must have been overwhelming. Individual player analysis. Let's break down how each United player performed because some of these ratings make for very difficult reading. Altay Bayındır got a 5 out of 10, and even that might be generous. He couldn't do anything about the first goal, but his positioning for the other goals was questionable. The worst moment came when he pushed a cross straight to Thiago for the second goal. That's the kind of mistake that costs teams matches. Matthijs de Ligt received a harsh 4 out of 10, and it's hard to argue with that rating. He was completely lost under the ball for the second goal. A schoolboy error from a player who cost United millions of pounds and is supposed to be our defensive leader. Harry Maguire also got a 5 out of 10. His mistimed offside trap led to the first goal, and he failed to stop the cross that led to the second. At least he was solid in the air defending set pieces, but that's the bare minimum we should expect from him. Luke Shaw received another 5 out of 10. Too slow to react for the second goal and looked out of position for most of the first half. He did provide some attacking threat going forward, but his defensive work was well below the standard required. Diogo Dalot got a 5 out of 10 as well. His poor pass led to the first Brentford goal, and he got bullied by their attackers throughout the match. He did provide the assist for the penalty with a nice flick, but one good moment doesn't make up for 90 minutes of poor defending. But the most shocking rating belonged to our captain, Bruno Fernandes, who received just 4 out of 10. He was invisible in the first half, got booked for a poor tackle, and then missed the penalty that could have changed the whole match. The report mentions this is now 2 penalties out of 3 that he has missed this season. Bruno's penalty nightmare. Let's talk about Bruno's penalty miss because this moment could have changed everything. United were trailing 2-1, and a penalty was exactly what we needed to get back into the match. This was Bruno's moment to step up as captain and leader. But instead of the calm, confident penalty we're used to seeing from Bruno, we got 4 minutes of hesitation followed by a penalty that was well saved by the Brentford goalkeeper. 4 minutes of standing over the ball, thinking, and probably overthinking the situation. What was going through Bruno's mind during those 4 minutes? Was he feeling the pressure of the situation? Was he second-guessing his usual penalty routine? Whatever it was, it clearly affected his execution when the moment came. The goalkeeper read his penalty perfectly and made a comfortable save. This wasn't a penalty that hit the post or went inches wide. This was a penalty that the goalkeeper saved with confidence, suggesting that Bruno's execution was poor. How do you explain Bruno's penalty problems this season? 2 misses out of 3 attempts is completely unlike the Bruno we know. This is a player who has been our most reliable penalty taker since joining the club. Something is clearly affecting his confidence from the spot. Benjamin Sesko, the only positive. In a match full of disappointment and frustration, Benjamin Sesko was the one bright spot for United. He received a 7 out of 10 rating and was described as United's best player in the first half. Sesko's goal was a moment of real quality in an otherwise poor performance. His build-up play and hold-up work were excellent, and he showed the composure and clinical finishing that United fans have been hoping to see. The goal itself came after 2 quick shots were saved, but Sesko kept going and found the net at the 3rd attempt. That's the mentality of a striker who refuses to give up, who keeps believing that his chance will come. But the problem is that Sesko was starved of service in the second half. When your striker is your best player but can't get involved because of poor service, that tells you everything about the team's problems. How can United expect Sesko to score goals when he's not getting the support he needs from his teammates? How can any striker succeed when the team's overall performance is so poor? The midfield problems. One of the biggest issues in this match was United's midfield performance. Manuel Ugarte got a 6 out of 10, which was decent, but he was substituted after 66 minutes. Bruno got a 4 out of 10 and looked completely out of place in his deeper role. The report specifically mentions that Bruno's deeper role doesn't suit him. This raises serious questions about Amorim's tactical setup and whether he's using his best players in the right positions. Bruno is at his best when he's playing further forward, creating chances and getting into scoring positions. Playing him deeper limits his impact and takes away one of United's biggest attacking threats. Why is Amorim persisting with a system that doesn't get the best out of his most important players? Why is he forcing square pegs into round holes when the results are clearly not working? The new signings struggle. This match was supposed to be the debut for United's new front three under Amorim, but the experiment failed badly. Apart from Sesko's goal, none of the new attacking players made a significant impact. Brian Bumo returned to his former club and got a 5 out of 10. He won the penalty and put pressure on the goalkeeper for Sesko's goal, but his deliveries into the box were largely wasteful. Matheus Cunha also received a 5 out of 10. He was too wasteful with his shots and kept trying to score from distance instead of creating chances for his teammates. There was one moment where he could have set up Bruno for a clear chance but chose to shoot himself instead. Patrick Dorgu got a 6 out of 10 for providing the cross that led to Sesko's goal and making constant forward runs. But like the others, he didn't do enough to justify his place in the team. Are these the players who are going to take United back to the top of the Premier League? Based on this performance, it's hard to see how they're going to make the difference that United desperately need the defensive disaster. United's defensive problems were exposed again in this match, and the individual ratings tell the whole story. Not a single defender got higher than 5 out of 10, and some got much less than that. The communication between defenders was non-existent. Players were leaving gaps, mistiming runs, and making individual errors that led directly to goals. This is supposed to be a Manchester United defence, but it looked more like a group of strangers who had never played together before. How can any team succeed when the defence is making basic errors every week? How can any manager implement his tactical plan when the players can't execute the fundamentals of defending? The most frustrating thing is that these aren't new problems. United have had defensive issues for years, and they keep getting exposed in matches like this. Different managers, different players, but the same mistakes keep happening. The away form crisis. This defeat highlights United's ongoing problems with away form under Amorim. While they can look good at Old Trafford, away from home they consistently struggle to perform at the required level. What is it about playing away from home that affects United so badly? Is it a mentality problem? Is it a tactical issue? Or is it simply that the players don't have the character and resilience to perform when things get difficult? The contrast between United's home and away performances is stark. At Old Trafford, they can beat teams like Chelsea. Away from home, they lose to teams like Brentford. That inconsistency is what's keeping them from challenging for top 4. How can United fix their away form problems? What changes does Amorim need to make to ensure his team can perform consistently regardless of the venue? The substitutions that didn't work. Amorim made 3 substitutions in this match, but none of them had the desired impact. Lainary Euro came on for Maguire and got a 6 out of 10 for making one good block. Kobbie Mainoo replaced Ugarte but hardly impacted the game with a 5 out of 10 rating. Mason Mount came on for Shaw but didn't get a rating because he was only on the pitch for 9 minutes. By the time the substitutions were made, the match was already beyond United's reach. Were the substitutions too late? Should Amorim have made changes earlier when he could see the team struggling? These are the kind of decisions that separate good managers from great ones. The bigger picture problems. This defeat isn't just about one bad performance. It's part of a pattern of inconsistency that has plagued United for months. 3 defeats in 6 Premier League games tells you everything about where this team is right now. The problems run deeper than just tactics or individual mistakes. There seems to be a lack of character and mentality in this United squad. When things get difficult, too many players seem to hide rather than step up and take responsibility. How do you fix mentality problems? How do you teach experienced professional footballers to show character and fight when their team needs them most? These are the challenges that Amorim is facing every week. Fan reactions and expectations. The reaction from United fans after this match has been one of frustration and disappointment. Many fans are starting to question whether Amorim is the right manager and whether these players have what it takes to succeed at United. Social media has been full of criticism for individual players and the manager. Fans are tired of seeing the same mistakes repeated week after week. They want to see progress, improvement, and signs that the team is moving in the right direction. But what can fans realistically expect from this team? Are their expectations too high, or are they right to demand better performances than what we saw against Brentford? The Amorim question. The elephant in the room is Ruben Amorim's future at Manchester United. This was supposed to be the manager who would transform United's fortunes and bring back the glory days. Instead, we're seeing the same old problems with different players. How long can United afford to give Amorim time to implement his ideas when results like this keep happening? How patient can the club be when every match feels like a step backward rather than forward? The pressure is building on Amorim, and performances like this one don't help his cause. He needs to find answers quickly, or his time at United could be shorter than anyone expected. What went wrong tactically? From a tactical perspective, everything went wrong for United in this match. The defensive shape was poor, the midfield was overrun, and the attack was isolated and ineffective. Amorim's decision to play Bruno in a deeper role clearly didn't work. Bruno is most effective when he's playing further forward, but this tactical choice limited his impact on the match. The front 3 that Amorim wanted to try for the first time never clicked as a unit. There was no understanding between the players, no chemistry, and no sign that they had practiced playing together. How long does Amorim need to get his tactics right? How many more performances like this can United accept while the manager tries to find the right system? Individual battles lost. Throughout the match, United players were losing individual battles all over the pitch. Defenders were being out-muscled by attackers, midfielders were second to every loose ball, and forwards were isolated against multiple defenders. This isn't just about tactics or system. This is about desire, determination, and the will to win individual battles. Too many United players looked like they didn't want to be on the pitch. How do you fix attitude and mentality problems? How do you teach players to want to win more than their opponents? These are the fundamental issues that United need to address. The goalkeeping concerns. Altay Bayındar's performance raises questions about United's goalkeeping situation. While he made some good saves, His positioning for some of the goals was questionable, and his distribution was poor throughout the match. Is Bayindir the long-term answer for United in goal? Does he have the consistency and reliability that a top team needs from their goalkeeper? Based on this performance, there are legitimate concerns. The mistake for the second goal, where he pushed a cross straight to an opposing player, is the kind of error that costs teams matches. At United's level, goalkeepers can't afford to make those kinds of mistakes. The penalty psychology. Bruno's penalty miss highlights a bigger issue with penalty taking at United. When your most experienced and reliable penalty taker starts missing crucial penalties, it creates doubt and uncertainty for the whole team. The 4-minute delay before taking the penalty suggests that Bruno was overthinking the situation. Confidence and instinct are crucial for penalty taking, and both seem to be lacking in this moment. How does Bruno regain his penalty-taking confidence? Should United consider giving penalty duties to someone else, or is it important for the captain to work through this difficult period? The physical battle. One thing that stood out in this match was how United players were being outfought physically. Brentford players were stronger, more aggressive, and hungrier for every ball. This isn't about fitness or conditioning. This is about mentality and the will to compete. United players looked like they expected things to be easy, while Brentford players were prepared to fight for every inch. Premier League football is physical and competitive. Teams that don't match that intensity will always struggle, regardless of their technical ability. The set-piece vulnerability. United's vulnerability from set pieces was exposed again in this match. While they defended some situations well, there were too many moments where Brentford players had clear chances from corners and free kicks. Set-piece defending is about organisation, communication, and taking responsibility for your man. United showed weaknesses in all these areas throughout the match. How can a team expect to succeed when they can't defend basic set pieces properly? These are fundamental aspects of the game that should be automatic at this level. The counter-attacking threat. Brentford's counter-attacking threat caused United problems all match. Every time United lost the ball, Brentford had players ready to break quickly and create dangerous situations. This suggests that United's defensive transition is poor. When the team loses possession, players aren't quick enough to get back into defensive shape and stop counterattacks. Modern football is about quick transitions between attack and defense. United are clearly struggling with this aspect of the game under Amorim. The creative deficit. Apart from Sesko's goal, United created very few clear-cut chances in this match. The creative players like Bruno and Cunha were either playing in the wrong positions or making poor decisions with the ball. Creativity comes from movement, passing, and understanding between players. United showed very little of any of these qualities against Brentford. How can United expect to score goals consistently when they're not creating enough quality chances? This is a fundamental problem: the confidence crisis. Everything about United's performance suggested a team low on confidence. Players were taking too many touches, making safe passes instead of progressive ones, and avoiding responsibility in crucial moments. Confidence in football is everything. When players believe in themselves and their teammates, they play with freedom and express their abilities. When confidence is low, everything becomes difficult. How do you rebuild confidence after performances like this? How do you convince players to take risks and make positive decisions when recent results have been poor? The leadership vacuum. One of the most concerning aspects of this performance was the lack of leadership on the pitch. Bruno, as captain, was having a poor match and couldn't provide the inspiration the team needed. Leadership isn't just about wearing the armband. It's about taking responsibility, organizing teammates, and making things happen when the team is struggling. United lacked this kind of leadership throughout the match. Who can provide leadership in this United team? Which players have the character and personality to step up when things get difficult? The tactical inflexibility. Amorim seemed unable to change things tactically when his initial plan wasn't working. The same problems persisted throughout the match without any clear adjustments being made. Good managers recognize when things aren't working and make changes to give their team a better chance. Amorim didn't seem to have answers when his tactics were being exposed. Is this a sign of tactical naivety, or was Amorim limited by the players available to him? Either way, the inability to adapt during the match was concerning. The squad depth issues. United substitutions highlighted the lack of quality depth in the squad. The players who came off the bench didn't improve the team's performance or change the momentum of the match. Squad depth is crucial for any team with ambitions of competing at the highest level. United's bench doesn't seem strong enough to make a significant impact when changes are needed. How can United compete with other top teams when their squad depth is so limited? This is a problem that will need to be addressed in future transfer windows. The mental fragility. United's collapse after going 2-0 down showed mental fragility that has been a recurring theme this season. Instead of fighting back with determination, the team seemed to accept their fate too easily. Mental strength is what separates winners from losers in football. United's players don't seem to have the resilience to bounce back from setbacks during matches. How do you teach mental toughness to professional footballers? How do you build the kind of character that refuses to give up even when things look hopeless? The pressing problems. United's pressing and defensive work rate were poor throughout the match. Players weren't working hard enough to win the ball back when they lost possession, allowing Brentford too much time and space. Modern football demands that every player contributes defensively. Teams that don't work hard without the ball will always struggle against well-organized opponents. This is another area where mentality and attitude are crucial. Players need to be willing to do the unglamorous defensive work that helps the team succeed. The communication breakdown. There were clear communication problems throughout United's team in this match. Players weren't talking to each other, weren't organizing defensively, and weren't coordinating their movements. Communication is fundamental to team sports. When players aren't talking to each other, mistakes and confusion are inevitable. How do you fix communication problems? Is this something that comes with time and familiarity, or does it require a fundamental change in the team's culture? The positional confusion. Many United players seemed confused about their roles and responsibilities during the match. This suggests that the tactical instructions weren't clear or that players weren't executing the game plan properly. Positional discipline is crucial for any tactical system to work. When players don't know where they should be, the whole team suffers. Is this a problem with Amorim's communication, or are the players struggling to adapt to his tactical demands? Either way, it's something that needs to be fixed quickly. The finishing problems. Apart from Sesko's goal, United's finishing was poor throughout the match. Players were taking too long to shoot, shooting from poor positions, or missing the target completely. Clinical finishing is what separates good teams from average ones. United's forwards need to be more ruthless in front of goal if the team is going to start winning matches consistently. How do you improve finishing? Is it a technical issue that can be fixed in training, or is it a mental problem related to confidence and composure? The time management issues. United's time management was poor, particularly in the second half. Players were taking too long over set pieces, substitutions, and dead ball situations when they needed to score goals. Game management is crucial in modern football. Teams need to understand when to speed up the game and when to slow it down depending on the situation. This is another area where experience and football intelligence are important. United's players don't seem to have the tactical awareness to manage games properly. Looking forward. So where does United go from here? How do they bounce back from another disappointing defeat and start showing the consistency that top teams require? The immediate priority has to be fixing the defensive problems. No team can succeed when they're conceding goals from basic mistakes and poor defending. Amorim needs to find a system that gets the best out of his key players, particularly Bruno Fernandes. Playing him in positions where he can't influence the game is a waste of his talents. The team also needs to develop more mental resilience. They need to learn how to fight back when things go wrong instead of accepting defeat too easily. Individual players need to take more responsibility for their performances. Too many players are hiding when the team needs leaders to step forward. The road to recovery. Recovering from defeats like this isn't easy, but it's not impossible either. United have the quality of players to bounce back if they can fix their mentality and tactical issues. The manager needs to be honest about what went wrong and make the necessary changes. If the current system isn't working, he needs to be flexible enough to try something different. Players need to look at themselves in the mirror and ask whether they're giving everything they have for the team. Individual accountability is crucial for collective success. The fans need to continue supporting the team through difficult times while also holding players and management accountable for poor performances. Final thoughts. This defeat to Brentford was painful for every United fan, but it's important not to overreact to one bad result. Football is a game of ups and downs, and every team goes through difficult periods. What matters now is how United respond to this setback. Do they use it as motivation to improve, or do they let it destroy their confidence completely? The problems are clear for everyone to see. Poor defending, lack of creativity, mental fragility, and tactical confusion. But problems can be fixed if there's the will to address them properly. Amorim has a huge job on his hands, but he knew that when he took the position. The question is whether he has the ability and the time to fix United's problems before the situation gets worse. The players need to show more character, determination, and quality in future matches. They owe it to themselves, the manager, and the fans to perform at a level worthy of the United shirt. Most importantly, everyone connected with the club needs to stick together during this difficult period. Unity and patience will be crucial if United are going to overcome their current problems and get back to where they belong. Thank you for reading. Thank you for taking the time to read this comprehensive analysis of Manchester United's disappointing defeat to Brentford. I know it makes for difficult reading, but it's important to be honest about the team's problems if we want to see improvement. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel United Daily Updates for all the latest Manchester United news, match analysis, transfer updates, and tactical breakdowns. We are your most trusted source for everything United, and we'll continue to provide honest, detailed coverage of every aspect of the club. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our community of United supporters from around the world. We'll be here through the good times and the bad times, providing the analysis and insight you need to understand what's happening at your club. Share this article with fellow United fans, leave your thoughts in the comments, and let us know what you think needs to change at the club. Together, we can support our team while also holding them accountable for the standards we expect. Until next time, keep supporting United through thick and thin, because that's what real fans do. We've been through difficult periods before, and we'll get through this one too. The key is sticking together and never giving up hope that better days are coming. Glory, glory, Man United, no matter what.